Hey everyone, welcome to Office Hours, where we assemble every single day to answer your media and tech-related production questions. Alexander Knight in Port Coquitlam, British Columbia is our reader today. So Alexander, what's up first?
This is a QR code question coming in from Nico Wasmuth in the Netherlands. Is the panel aware of ATEM Constellations being capable, after firmware upgrade, of audio routing and outputting Max 16 audio channels? Great for ISO recording on HyperDecks. Use ATEM Software Control or, for even more control, Bitfocus Companion.
I am not aware of that particularly, but I don't do much of this kind of work. You're really, each day of the week has kind of a different theme, and I will say that yesterday, Wednesday, was where most of our really high-end audio panelists show up. It probably would have been a better answer from then. I don't think anybody, particularly on this panel, is used to that kind of thing. There are a lot of users of Bitfocus Companion here. And so it is an incredibly capable software system. And if it has links for the Constellation, and again, I'm not a Constellation user, so I don't know that specifically, I would imagine it's flexible enough to be able to do some of that. But unfortunately, I think we're going to kind of take a swing and a miss on this one. So, Nico, hold on to your question, bring it back. Let's see, I think it came in through the QR code thing, which means it's going to be persistent. It might have held over from yesterday, and the audio panel just didn't have time to get to it. If so, it's going to stay in here. So if you can continue to watch for the next few days, you may find a panel that is more conversant with this particular hookup for us. So we're just going to have to move on to the next question.
This one is a QR code question from Paul Kovacs in Elkhart, Indiana. Does anyone have a good suggestion on a camera strap or connection for the caged body of a DSLR camera? I've seen a lot with quick releases, but will have something hanging off the sides of the camera when not used. Cage has plenty of 1/4-inch 20s to use.
Boy, this is a big subject, and everybody uses different kinds of things. Courtney Gooden, what's your preference?
Well, if you want a quick release, you pretty much have to have something hanging off the side of the camera. Either that, or if you're in a cage, you might be able to screw a post into one of those 1/4 20s. And there's a lot of these. A lot of these quick releases out here, like this one, that have this little loop. But if you're in a cage, then you can maybe take this particular quick release, which goes over a post and has a little quick release button on it. To take a look at that. This is from, who is this? PD? I don't know. I'll have to check it back out. But look, you'll find some that will slip over a post that you can then screw into one of those 1/4 20s and then snap it in. That way there's not something hanging loose like one of those, quick release straps that come on luggage, that have a plastic quick release on it.
Yeah, I've used a variety of different little quick releases. There's a whole bunch depending on the weight of what you're going to actually attach to something. Some of them do require little straps hanging off of whatever you're using the quick release on. I've tended to use Canon straps for most of my Canon cameras, and they had a pretty good little quick release, the same kind that backpackers and hikers usually use. I've always been surprised. I always thought those were going to be relatively unstable, but it's turned out over the course of the years I've been using them, I've never had a camera come detached once those little plastic, I don't even know how to describe them, they're kind of little fork clips. It's got a rectangular receiver and a little kind of 3-part thing that the sides pinch in and it snaps in place. I've been shocked that they've really been very, very stable over the course of the time, but that gets around, it does not get around your asking about a strap system that mounts without anything on the camera itself. Cages give you a lot of mounting points, but add a certain amount of bulk. And I find myself of one of two things. If I have a cage on a camera that I'm using, I find myself going into what I call EFP mode, which is electronic field production, where I'm expecting the camera to be mounted on something. I'm seldom hand-holding it, and if I am hand-holding it in a cage, it's usually a bigger, more cumbersome cage. I'm getting to the point where I really like smaller things to shoot with, like my phone, because I just feel more free, and I feel like I have more creative freedom to get the shots that I'm looking for without all that gack hanging off my camera. But it's a particular thing. Do you want to get in on this, Chris? Did you say something?
My microphone was accidentally open.
Ah, okay. I heard your voice in my ear, and I thought I would check with you. All right. That's my 2 cents on it. Paul, I hope you find a solution. And if you do, come back and let us know about it. We're always interested in how people use their cameras in real life, particularly if they find something that works especially well. Next question.
This one's from David Brady in New York City, New York, USA. With end-of-year spending coming up, what are some of the panel's wish list items?
And Alexander raised his hand. Do you have something?
Well, I always have ever-expanding wish list. I'm not sure where this sudden spending is coming up. I wish I had extra money, but I will tell you some of the things that I want anyways, David. I could always use some more monitors. I really need at least one more monitor in my setup. I know I say that as someone that has like a ton of monitors here, but you could always use more screen real estate for different applications because all my computers are basically treated as appliances. I would like to get another Stream Deck 32 button. I only have a single 32 button Stream Deck, which I know seems insane how many people in this community have many Stream Decks, but having an extra Stream Deck would be nice to dedicate to certain functions so I don't have to go through so many pages as well. And what else? I'd like a new Mac Studio with a faster processor in it as well, so that would solve some problems. So I mean, I could read you off my entire list, Davey. In fact, what I'll do is I'll send you a link to my Amazon wish list, then you can take a look at it. That'll probably be easier.
Chris Fenwick, what say you?
David Brady, for my end of the year dream project, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm hoping to build a new office in my backyard, and I'm going to build it with some timber frames, and I'm trying to determine how legal and how permitted it's going to be. That's my end of the year spending. I don't think
Chris did not actually say that to any government authorities in his municipality that may be watching this or may not be. So, Courtney Gooden.
Yeah, my trick is trying to find a business that's profitable enough that I can deduct this from to take a tax advantage. What I would want, Santa, are you listening? Is one of these new GMK Tech, all of my GMK Tech mini PCs that I have. This is the new AI mini PC. It's AMD Ryzen AI Max, which is that new AI processor from AMD. $15.99, and they're small as a mini PC can be. And it would be a lot smaller than the Dell I have sitting here. Maybe it wouldn't glitch quite as much. So that would be, and it's cheaper than the Mac Studio.
It's interesting how small really strong computers have become. It's just we never had this phenomenon before. It used to be the bigger the tower, the more grunt it had, so to speak. But boy, has that changed. Jeffrey Powers, your thoughts?
I'll take this in a different direction. David, if you've got extra money, send it to me. I'll take care of things.
Yeah, well, don't hold your breath, I don't think. Anyway, yeah, I'm in the market for a new camera this time of year, so I don't know. There's so many choices out there that sometimes this is I'm getting remarkably close to paralysis by analysis. So I'm going to have to figure this out and just pull the trigger on something. So, next question.
This one is from Vol, who's in Austin, Texas. Will the lens, which Sony says is so sharp, buttery bokeh with massively improved autofocus, work with the ZV series?
I don't know why it wouldn't. ZV lenses, I mean, Sony has been pretty good. They've been around for a long time, and I would imagine that all the functions talk to it. The biggest issue that I've ever run across with adding lenses to something is just making sure that the connections all work. That's been, over the course of the years, I've had so many different lenses and so many different cameras and adapters for those lenses to cameras that it seems like if I adapt something that's not, but this is Sony ZV lens and a Sony body, I can't imagine it's not going to speak its language correctly. Jeffrey Powers, what are your thoughts about this?
Sony says yes. That's all I got.
Okay, Sony says yes, so that it should be fine. 100 millimeter f2.8 is a fixed 100 millimeter to me is a little bit weird because I guess I've been doing so much of this kind of work where I'm just in front of a monitor and I'm in front of a camera that 100 millimeter seems like it would push me farther back and I need a bigger office. but that's just my 2 cents. Somebody else may be in an entirely different circumstance. So horses for courses, Paul. Good luck with the purchase. Next question.
This one is from me. I've had problems with getting gaffers tape from certain American brands. At first, I thought it was due to tariffs and Canadian distributors refusing to import, but that's over now. Is demand suddenly too high?
Gaffer's tape is a weird commodity. You know, it still is used tons, and we have all, I think everybody who's been in the production business for a long time has had issues where you get a particular batch of Gaffer's tape, and it either is very good and you're really sad to see it wear out, or you get one expecting it to work like the tape you've been using for a long time, and suddenly for some reason, and I've been trying to figure this out for years, what is it that causes it to be too tacky or not tacky enough to peel off with that kind of rubbery feel that good gaffer's tape often has when you're taking it off the roll, or that more staccato kind of snappy pull off where it doesn't seem like the adhesive is quite right for gaffer's tape. I don't know. This is just a very particular thing. Courtney, what are your thoughts about it?
Well, you need to go to an expendable store like Studio Depot. Here's one that sells really the good gaffer tape, and they have it in all kinds of colors and widths. You'll find narrower widths, which you won't find anywhere else, and all kinds of colors. I used to buy a lot of this brown stuff when working on Roar because I'd have to hide a bunch of stuff in the wood rafters, and the brown tape worked great for hiding cables and microphones and stuff. And it's sometimes hard to find brown gaffer's tape. But try the expendable store at Studio Depot or Quixote in Hollywood has a great selection of gaffer's tape. And I'm probably sure they would ship it to Canada, probably.
Yeah. Once you get a roll of really good stuff, it's really hard to go back. I particularly remember a lot of times in my life where I ordered gaffer's tape or picked some up somewhere along the road. And when you tear it, and one of the biggest magic capabilities of gaffer's tape is with your fingers, you can tear it and it comes off cleanly. But you get a roll that leaves those little strings behind when you try to tear it off. I always think, I wonder if I just bought wrong, or whether gaffer's tape ages and that happened to be a roll that had been sitting around for 10 years or something like that. I mean, no gaffer's tape should leave residue behind. If it does that, it's either not gaffer's tape or you've abused it horribly. Maybe you left it on a dashboard in Phoenix for 6 months and then tried to use it, and that just does not work. So we could talk forever about gaffer's tape, but we won't today. Thanks for the question, though, Alexander. Let's go on to the next one.
Yeah, this one is from Paul Valhus in Austin, Texas. How would you equip a Sony Alpha ZV-E10 Mark II for underwater photography with audio and lighting?
Courtney Gooden, dive in.
Well, there are companies that specialize. And the problem with underwater housings, if you're going to go down, any depth at all, you have to have all the access to the controls. It has to be accessible. Ike-Light and the ones, ZV, the ones that operate most of their controls off a touchscreen, of course, are not going to work. This company called Ike-Light makes a whole bunch of Sony underwater housings. And you can see all the little watertight controls that they have all over this thing. This is for the Sony Alpha A7 III and A7R III and A9. So if it's a new camera, they will probably be coming out with one because they have a whole bunch of different ones that allow you to use your Sony camera. And they have even the menu navigation buttons on the back so that you can use it without using the touchscreen, are carried through to the back. Now, as far as underwater, where is it? Here's a hydrophone. So luckily fish don't make much noise. They don't speak usually unless you're, watching The Incredible Mr. Limpet with Don.
Wait, you don't speak fish?
Yeah. So this, you would probably put a recorder above the water and hook it up to a hydrophone, which you can drop down on this long cable next to wherever you're shooting. I don't think you're going to be able to plug a microphone in, and the microphone internal in that camera may not record much through the underwater housing. You may get some really muffled sounds. This one records sound from 20 hertz up to 100 kilohertz. So, even those ultrasonic fish will be able to be recorded. And I did find this light. Here it is here. Sorry. B&H photo. For $29, this underwater light. You can just clip it on the top of a cage. It's either got a GoPro mount or it's got a hot shoe mount. For $29, it has internal batteries and goes down to 130 feet. So it's a cob light. It'll light up your general neighborhood. You want to use that orange filter on there because underwater is, once you get to any depth at all, the only color that you're capturing is blue if the water's clear. So or green if it's not. So depending upon whether it's green or blue, they have clip-on filters, either magenta or amber, so that it can get your color balance back to something that's nice, and you can actually see colors underneath the water.
Yeah, I'm 100% agree with that. I've shot underwater a couple of times, not terribly deep, but it's a shocking how fast reds and anything in the warm part of the color spectrum disappears. Literally 10 feet underwater, and you start to see massive color shifts, and you go down any farther than that, and suddenly the world just does not look normal. So I would definitely, if you're going to do any underwater photography at all, invest as much in your lighting rig as you can manage to do, particularly if you want those beautiful color fish photos that the serious magazine photographers are able to achieve. It is an art unto itself. Chris Fenwick, you wanted to weigh in on this?
No, I don't want to weigh in on this at all. Paul, Google figured out. But I will tell you this, Courtney, when you were talking about the underwater thing, let's get to real stuff now. Here's an editing trick. I've done a lot of, corporate like happy face videos. And when they take GoPros underwater, I always cut the music track and I pull all the high end and low end out of it. No, high and mids. And I make it sound like it's underwater. And the audience always loves it. So the GoPro comes down the water slide and they go, and they love it. So there's a real life tip that you can apply to your work and be successful and have people enjoy your work.
Underwater audio EQ.
Yes.
I've never heard of that before, but it's
it's
brilliant
fun.
idea.
It's really
Chris.
fun. Give it a go.
Okay. Courtney, you wanted to get back in?
Yeah, I was just going to tell Paul that, do Foley work for your underwater shots, because you can create something that's much more interesting and much easier, better to listen to. I created all the underwater sound effects for the Blue Lagoon in a 6-foot wide kiddie pool with a Sony ECM50 underneath the water with it.
Pictures or it didn't happen.
All the water sounds for the movie The Blue Lagoon that way. So you can do it, and people get away with it on the big screen all the time.
Next question.
Caleb Groom in Pinehurst, North Carolina asks, I'm planning a vMix+ZoomISO panel show that will send the video output to the same Zoom meeting that the panelists and audience are in. Is there a mix-minus strategy that will keep the speakers from hearing themselves?
Jeffrey Powers is going to help you out a little bit here. Jeffrey?
I'm wondering why you want to do that, because it doesn't make sense. If I was to do that, I'd bring that in as a silent video, no audio attached to it. I'm not exactly sure what the need would be to have the audio come back into the Zoom from the mix there. So if you've got somebody that's monitoring that, then maybe it's a situation where you bring it into another room and have them do that. But I wouldn't bring loopback audio into Zoom. I don't think it has the ability to do any type of mix minus or anything like that.
Chris Fenwick.
Yeah, Caleb, keep in mind, you're also going to have the issue with whatever you bring back in is going to be out of sync with what's happening live in the Zoom meeting already. Like, for example, we have our program feed fed back into this meeting. And the reason we do is so that we know if we're in like a 6-up or, a side-by-side or something like that. But it's delayed. So when I put my hand up, oh, there goes my hand in the other one. There goes my hand up. There goes in the other one. So that's a problem. And keep in mind, all the people in that Zoom meeting, they can already hear everybody because they're in the Zoom meeting. So unless there's like playback issues, then yes, you do have to build a mix minus. You got to pull all the voices out and just have things that originate outside the Zoom room in that mix. But keep in mind, it's going to be delayed and out of sync with the rest of the people in the Zoom room.
Jeffrey?
James made a good comment in the chat here, and it's true. vMix is going to delay that as well, so you have a delay upon a delay coming back in. It makes no sense to me.
Hopefully that makes sense to you. Hey, don't forget, this show runs off of your questions. We're here just as long as we have questions to deal with, and when we run out of questions, we run out of show. So if you'd like to add questions in and vote for them, the primary way is to go through Makana. That's our Q&A system. If you go to officehours.global/join, we'll send you an email, and you can fill out a couple of little things. And once you've done that, you not only get the show, but you get to join our community in real time should you choose to. And it all begins with officehours.global/join. I'm going to combine this with the promo about our QR code system and pull it up right now, because the QR code is what we use to kind of get questions in as fast as possible. And if you have something you'd like to put in, there we go. That throws the QR code up in the bottom of that. If you shoot that through with your phone or anything else, it allows you to kind of get in really quickly with a question. And if you have something you're curious about, use the QR code, and we'll be happy to get to it as faster. Next question.
This one's from Paul Valhus in Austin, Texas. Are the A7 Mark IVs priced to sell because the A7 V is real?
I have to imagine that there is an A7 V on the horizon. That's been a heavy seller for Sony for a long time, but as to when it comes out, nobody who really knows these things. You said this is from the Sony Alpha rumors site, keyword being rumors. Maybe Sony is seeding some, I hesitate to call them rumor mongers, because in some cases big companies do use many communications pipelines to try to make sure everybody knows that something is on the way so people don't give up or make their plans accordingly. But it's hard to know whether the A7 Mark V is imminent or it's going to be a while. Alexander Knight, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't have any inside knowledge, and I don't really see the point in discussing conjecture because this is all rumors. Obviously, this is pointing to a rumors website. The one thing that I will say, which is very frustrating, is I still to this day can't make heads or tails of Sony nomenclature with all their cameras. I'm like A7V Mark III, A7. I don't know which one is supposed to be better. They use all the letters of the alphabet, and it's incredibly confusing. And you need AI to design a chart so you can understand their product lineup. So they're probably not helping consumers.
I've felt the same way occasionally, not just with Sony, but there are a few companies where they must have some internal logic to how they assign numbers. But I know there are lines and tiers, and they want something for prosumers and something for more professionals. And then they've got a big consumer division. And I'm sure all those different verticals inside the company are working on their own products and have maybe their own schemes that make sense inside theirs. But for consumers, these cameras can often be complicated to understand. Let's go to our next question.
This was one of my questions. I had to send one of my Yamaha DM3-D consoles back for service as it periodically freezes. Not sure if it's related to the last firmware update gone wrong as it failed to patch the Dante module. And I have a little story to share about customer service.
Oh, we'll dive into it. We're always happy to get personal experiences.
I have two of these consoles, and the interesting thing is that they're both on the 3.0 firmware. However, one's working fine. The other one, which is the newer one that I bought, periodically will just freeze, and the screen locks up. The interesting thing is that it continues to pass audio, and I'm not sure why that happens, but it actually happened in a gig, which caused a lot of panic because I was in the middle of a show and the headlining act was on. And thankfully, it happened pretty much right at the end of their set. They were, I think, 10 minutes away from finishing up. And I'm remotely controlling the console. It was actually the monitor console, which was behind the stage. And so I have like a 100-foot Ethernet cable going into a switch, and the remote connection dies. And so I run up to the console, and the screen's frozen. I can't do anything, can't change anything, but it's still passing audio. So I had to wait till the show finished to power cycle it. And this has been an ongoing thing. And apparently I am not the only person that is experiencing. And as I started to sort of research this problem, one of the things that I discovered was the Dante module firmware version was different between the consoles, even though I had patched it to the same 3.0 update. And I'm thinking, this is just a guess, and the techs are potentially thinking it may have something to do with a firmware update gone wrong where it didn't fully patch a Dante module. They're not 100% certain. But anyways, long story short, getting great customer service from Yamaha. My Yamaha rep loaned me his DM3 console, so because I told him, I said, look, I use both of these things every day. I can't be without a console. So he loaned me his console, and I've got it until that other one comes back. But I just wanted to share that with the panel, and maybe to get anybody else to share a story if you know of when an experience where you had something fail and that your dealer or manufacturer really came through and was able to kind of save the day. So it's always fascinating to me. It makes me trust the brand even more and make me want to buy more of their products, because that's, as someone who deals with a lot of different companies and I sell a lot of this stuff, there are not that many companies that are willing to go above and beyond for a customer like this.
Chris Fenwick.
Was your Alexander, was your gig in a disco, and was there panic at the disco?
Oh yeah, how did you know? That's exactly what happened.
Courtney Gooden.
Been waiting the whole question.
Yeah, back in the days of DAT, digital audio tape, which were notorious for the transports going south and clogging, there were a lot of Fostex PD2s out there that were being used in the motion picture industry, and they service rep for them was a guy named Rick Kanata with Fostex, and he was located in the Los Angeles area down, I think they were down near the coast somewhere, Costa Mesa or somewhere. But yeah, if you had a problem with a PD2, he would actually come to the set and bring you a replacement and take yours back in for service and service it and then exchange it back for no charge if it was under warranty service. So, service like that you don't have anymore, of course. Thankfully, since we've gone to all solid state recording with no moving parts, things like the PD2 with 5 million moving parts in it are a thing of the past, thankfully.
Yeah, this is one of those things. I've had really exceptional customer service, and I've had tragic customer service experiences over the course of my career. And, I think as things get more complex, I'm interested in your analysis of that, Alexander, because, we've all had experience where you try to replace a piece of software and it almost gets there, and then some little thing goes wrong. And unfortunately, in the world we live in now, that one little thing, that non-correctly written end of file note or something like that, can cause whole files to just not operate anymore. So it's something we're all going to have to deal with as things get more and more complicated, more and more computer-based. I'm really pleased that you got through the show successfully, because that's the most important thing. But boy, that's the world we live in now. Next question.
This one's from Roscoe Jones in Madison, Indiana. At the end of the office hours Monday, the panel started talking in French accents. Could we or should we consider using AI like the 2024 film The Brutalist, which used AI to enhance the Hungarian accents of the lead actors?
This is such a big topic. I'm going to start with Jeffrey Powers, then go to Courtney. Jeffrey?
So AI, this is one of the things that AI has been really working frantically on in the last couple of years. When I went to CES, even this last year, I saw many companies that were trying to do things like being able to do AI, read languages in there. And in fact, they even tackled it on the morning show, the new season of the morning show. And there's going to be a lot of pushback from Hollywood, simply because of the fact that, if you make one thing, then the precedence is there to make another. I see it as something that could be very helpful. If you cannot say something, you've got an actor that just cannot say it, and then you figure to yourself or think to yourself, if they say it wrong, it could mean something completely different and cause a rift or cause a problem. Then having something like that is going to be very useful in continuing on with the production. But I have a feeling if something like that is approved by Hollywood, it's going to be there's going to be a lot of very tied down rules to it. So it's like the absolute last resort and the only exception type thing.
Courtney Gooden?
Now, I did not know that they were doing accents. Now, I know they're doing translations so that they take the timbre and characteristics of the actor who's speaking, let's say, English, and will translate it into Hungarian and speak Hungarian with a similar sounding voice. But I didn't know they were actually adding an accent to the English of a actor. In the past, they had there were these people, these actors, called dialect coaches, and you'd hire one of them. Here's a famous one that I took a class from back in the 90s, Robert Easton. He was known as the dialect doctor, and he could teach you dialects. He was an actor. You'd probably seen him in The Twilight Zone and Andy Griffith. He usually played a country bumpkin or someone simple. So he would teach all these various dialects. Unfortunately, he passed away in 2011, so you can't hire the Henry Higgins of dialects, is how he referred to himself. But there were a number of dialect coaches around, and it looks like, gee, I guess their jobs have just been taken by AI. Look for something else, folks.
Chris Fenwick.
You know, I really like Kevin Costner, but we could really use some of that AI and go back and fix any movie he ever did where he tried to do an accent, because he was horrible in JFK. Horrible.
Yeah, it's a challenge. You know, now that I'm involved in audio work, we get pieces that come in, and I know my limitations, and they are manifold and deep in terms of not being able to pull off a character who's supposed to be, you know, fill in the blank, Cajun, British, whatever. It's a very, very difficult thing to pull off. I will say the other thing. Well, I'm going to let Jeffrey finish, then I'll come back to my comment. Jeffrey, what were your thoughts on this?
All I'll say is that I just went into Sora and then I said, tell a joke with a Southern French accent. I wasn't going to get too specific about it because I'm going to see if that actually works. So watch Makana for my result a little bit later.
Yeah, I'm less concerned with the authenticity of accents as I am about the translation capabilities when you're trying to deal with foreign languages. For example, you know, if the sentence "he was angry" was in something and AI was going to change that into languages, even if that was the original thought in a foreign language and you were translating it into English, there's so many word choices for that translation. You know, you could say he was angry, he was livid, he was aghast, he was furious. All of those kind of mean the same thing, but which one you pick has to do a lot with the rhythm and the meter of what's said. And I remember reading an article once upon a time about somebody who was a poet and talking about the incredible difficulty of taking a rhythm that is beautiful, say in French, and translating it into English and watching all the beauty of that rhythm just disappear. And it become kind of a stilted, hackneyed reading of what was a beautiful piece of writing in the first place. And I think we're going to deal with that for the rest of our lives. I mean, you know, when human beings are involved, I know I've talked to some people who have translated important works that were written very carefully, and they'll have meetings. You know, they'll spend a day on a paragraph trying to figure out how to best translate it so that not just the meaning, but the meter and the music of the language comes through in that translation. It's very hard to do. And so now we're going to assign that to algorithms. And, you know, particularly if they start being used in things like legal documents where the shades of meaning of a particular word can be something that is endlessly debated in court in trying to settle a case. And, you know, if this is a translation of a translation of a translation, oh my gosh, what a thorny problem that we have here. I just find it fascinating that looking at what AI can do and what it can't do. There's so many things it'll do brilliantly. I mean, my gosh, the ability to have something in your hand, which we're starting to see now, where somebody can speak in a foreign language and you can get their basic meaning, that's incredibly powerful for bringing the world closer together. But the devil's in the details, for my 2 cents. Next question.
This one's from Kenny Hampton in Greenville, Illinois. Interesting discussion about water sound effects. Do you think AI sound generation-like tools, such as Adobe Audio AI or Soundly Cloud Foley libraries, are starting to replace practical Foley sessions, or is real-world recording still unmatched?
Courtney, what do you think?
I haven't looked too deeply into it, and I know Sora 2 and the Veo 3.1, the ones that they are video generation from a text prompt. AI models now can generate sound effects, and sometimes they're accurate, sometimes the footsteps don't sound right. So sometimes it gets it right, sometimes it gets it way wrong. So I'm curious, and that's when it's generating the video. So it can do synchronization excellently because it's generating the video and the sound effects and even music in some cases all together. But I don't know if there's something out there that you can load a video in and it will analyze it and then create synchronized sound effects for that. I'm sure it's not far away, and I'm sure somebody's working on it. But the Foley guys, better start looking for, reading their plumbing manuals out there, because that's another good job that is not going to be taken over by AI.
Chris Fenwick.
I think the office hours crew here should produce a short film, and it could be about anything. Guy wakes up in the morning, goes to the refrigerator, gets breakfast, gets in the car, drives to work, traffic, receptionist, whatever, where all the sound effects are horribly wrong. Just like the worst, like the footsteps are, like he walks barefoot to the bathroom, but you hear high heels in a ballroom. He opens the refrigerator door, sounds like an old Oldsmobile. He gets in the traffic, and instead of hearing cars outside his window, he hears horse footsteps. I think, and then we should, have it be like a highlight reel of bad AI audio.
Jeffrey Powers.
So yeah, one of the things that Kenny's talking about is Adobe, and Adobe has their Firefly text to generate sound AI. I've used this a few times, and it kind of works. I don't get exactly what I want. And I'm basically looking for like little dings or something like that for my videos. So I'll say, hey, I just want you to recreate a bell, and it basically is recreating. I think it's just using a sound library to recreate from there, because Adobe does have a sound library. So I would get like 4 or 5 options that would definitely be bells, but they're not the types of bells that I'm looking for. If AI could, if I could prompt it right to say I want a bell at a 440 hertz pitch, short and sweet, or whatever the prompt would be to make exactly what I'm looking for, then yeah. And I suppose with audio, we're getting closer and closer to having AI create a lot of sound for us, and the human ear wouldn't be able to detect, especially a short sound like that, wouldn't be able to detect if it was AI or human made.
It's such a fascinating topic, and I'm right in the middle of it right now, because I'm actually doing sound effects right now in this audio book that I'm working on with a multicast, and it's got a ton of audio cues. And the reason I'm so passionate about it now is I had a scene. This is a crazy scene. The heroine is over a whirlpool and the hero's trying to make sure the rope doesn't get cut. And so I needed a swirling water kind of sci-fi thing. And I tried all sorts of water and all sorts of things and messed around. And then this one little library that I had hiding over in the corner had this sound effect. And I went, oh my God, that sounds great. And I threw it in the scene, and the entire scene just came alive. This rushing whirlpool sound added to the tension of what was going on. It's a fun piece, and it's just it's kind of a Sam Spade type detective thing, but set in the Wizard of Oz universe. So it doesn't have to be realistic at all. What it has to be is dramatic. And it just reinforced for me that the right sound at the right time can make or break virtually any scene. And I'm not sure, with the trouble I'm having getting AI to produce the images that I want, if we're going to get to the point where AI becomes the same kind of thing for sounds, where I kind of know what I want, but I'm struggling and burning up a lot of time trying to get to it. Maybe that's going to be the same amount of time I would have normally spent trying to find the right library and the right sound effects. But I'm getting reschooled in how important the sound mix behind things can be in making them come alive, sound realistic, and just enhance the entertainment experience for an audience. It's hats off to all the really good sound people out there working everywhere, because boy, they make a difference in our entertainment. Next question.
This one's from Roscoe Jones in Madison, Indiana. Teacher Ashley asks, does anyone have ideas for easy, quick things to film in a classroom to experiment with? Shutter speed, slow motion, time-lapse, and other various settings.
Courtney?
Well, I don't know if you'll have a camera that can can vary the shutter speed enough to show you basically the difference between the three. A lot of times people demonstrate the relationship between shutter speed or sample rate and motion. So you shoot like a rotating wagon wheel or something with spokes on it that repeat. And so as you vary the shutter speed and the frame rate, it will look like the wheel's turning the opposite direction. You see this in movies all the time. There was a guy, what was his name, who did stroboscopic photography, was famous for doing variable speed stroboscopic photography to make things, to shoot water and things, so you look like water dropping out of a hose into a pan, let's say, and it makes it, as you vary the speed of the strobe, you can make it look like the water droplets are moving back into the hose. So that shows you the artifacts and the relationship of sample rate or strobe rate or shutter rate to motion, and things that cause motion blur and actually cause movement reversal for repetitive movements. So something like that is interesting. Time-lapse photography, anybody can do that. Just hold the shutter open in a dark room and move stuff around. That's always interesting.
Chris Fenwick.
Ashley, I hope you don't have an operational hose in your classroom. You might have a wagon wheel, but I would say bouncing a ball. You can get everything you want, shutter speed, slow motion, time-lapse. Maybe get a basketball, move some of the desks out of the way, have somebody dribble, and then somebody else try and steal the ball from them. The time-lapse will look funny. The motion blur of the ball and the slow motion, I think that you could do it in a confined space without dripping any water in your classroom. And I haven't seen a wagon wheel in a long time, Courtney.
You bring a bicycle in. They have spokes on them. Come on, everybody.
Well, the classic way was the horse race, right? Trying to figure out whether the horse had all four paws, hooves off the ground.
Yes,
that happened right here near me in Palo Alto.
Did it? Yeah.
Yeah. There's a plaque.
I'm saying bring a horse into the classroom. That's my solution. Or a very small horse, maybe a dog or a pony.
But you got to put the horse on a treadmill, so you got to get a big.
That's right. Anyway, next question.
Alan Scott in Fredericton asks, I'm using Companion with my streamdecks and Unity comms. If I update to the current Mac Unity client, I lose my button feedback. Does anybody on the panel have a fix for this besides not updating the client?
I don't. I'm using Companion through the most useful accessory I've ever found, which is called a Mickey. Mickey is helping me with my sound setup, and he installed Companion so that my absolutely silent Stream Deck mute functions perfectly, and it creates no clicking. But I don't use it personally and get down into the depths of it. I'm still on the fence. This has been 3 or 4 months I've been using this, and I'm still on the fence about whether I like it or I don't. I find myself having to make, okay, I'm going to do a really behind-the-scenes things. If you hear this sound from me, the little tongue click, I'm usually trying to figure out, Am I muted or unmuted? Because there's nothing physically on my Stream Deck. I don't think I can pull it out far enough to show it here. But I would love if I could get that red button, which is the mute, to turn a different color when it's muted or something like that. But I have not cracked that code, and I have no time to mess with it. I know it works flawlessly, but the feedback system for me is really not quite there yet. But that's a small question in terms of Companion and Unity comms, and you're looking for a bigger answer that I'm afraid I just don't have. If you figure out, though, Alan, how to do feedback into the Stream Deck, for example, to change it to green when it's live and red when it's not live, I would be very interested. Next question.
This question comes from Roz Humphreys in Comox, British Columbia, Canada. Good morning, Bill. Are you still using Audio Design Desk, and do you have any usage tips?
I am, but I do not have to. I'm so frustrated because I've had it. I can see the potential. It's right in front of me, but I'm having to work so quick because I've got so many people in this cast, and we're trying to work fast because I'm discovering all sorts of fun things in this project. And every time I find another thing that's fun, I want to go down that and explore it because I want to make this book the best that it can possibly be. But one of the things I haven't been able to do is dedicate my brain to Audio Design Desk. We are getting to a point. I've just got another casting call out for the next 10 characters we want to bring into the company. The company is such great people. I'm having so much fun doing this. That's going to take up my next month or two. At some point, I will be able to, rather than comping and temping sound effects so that the scenes come alive a little bit and people can hear how to act against them, I will get to the point where I'm actually doing or collaborating with others to do the sound effects mixes, which, as I described in that last thing, so much add to the scenes. I mean, that scene with Carolyn in jeopardy and Arthur trying to save her just blew up in my brain when we got the right whirlpool sound effects underneath it. And it just reinforced how critical all these things are. The tool is designed to do this. I believe in the tool. I just haven't had the literal hours in the day to dive in and go any farther. But boy, I am so looking forward to it. So Roz, keep bringing back up if you're interested. I will keep exploring it as much as I can. I'm fully engaged in this right now. Next question.
This one is the QR code question from Patrick Heineman in Longview, Texas. We have had great customer service with Sweetwater, had a PreSonus console acting up, and they sent us a new one in about 2 days, and before we sent the old one back.
Courtney Gooden, comment?
Well, Sweetwater is famous for their good customer service. They really care about their people. They even send you a little candy when they send you something that you buy from them. And you can even request the type of candy, I think, if you're a good client. There's a lot of companies that do this. They are not a manufacturer. They are, I guess, a manufacturer's rep in some cases. But since you've bought from them, they have your credit card on file. So if you turn out to be somebody who doesn't send your old console back after receiving the new one, you'll just find a charge in your credit card for that new one. So there's a lot of companies out there that offer that kind of service of shipping you a new one and not charging you for it until they get the and waiting for the old one to come back. In that case, there's no charge in your credit card. But if the old one never comes back, you will receive a charge. So that's how they handle it these days. And of course, you have to have a credit card that is valid and that they've charged something to in the past so they know it's still good. But, that kind of customer service is great. Somebody who's willing to ship it out and not wait for you to send the dead one back in before they ship a new one. Most of the automated type systems out there like Amazon is pretty good too about doing that because, they take returns on, no question asked, and they usually credit you back for something you bought as soon as you turn it into your local UPS store or Whole Foods store, and you don't even have to box it back up. They're great about doing that. So they've gotten very far on that customer service, but they do have to deal with a lot of returns. and a lot of returns that they cannot resell. So let's hope that Sweetwater doesn't move into negative territory on their profit page and have to go out of business because of people trying to scam them and send stuff back.
Patrick, thank you for the question, and unfortunately, that's going to be our last one for today. We appreciate you're here. We're here to answer your questions as long as we have them. We have now gone through our entire list for the day. If you had, well, let me just do it this way. Thank you so much to everybody who has been a part of Office Hours through the course of all these shows, and today is no exception, particularly those of you who asked the questions and put them into the show queue. This show does not exist without you running these questions, and we truly appreciate it. It's always so fascinating, and I learn so much just sitting here every day because so many of you have issues that may not be directly related to me, but I think everybody has the same thing. Even when it's not specifically related to me, I learn a little bit, and someday when something associated with that question comes up, I am better able to deal with it. So thank you to everybody who puts questions into the queue. To our panelists, without you, this doesn't happen as well. We've had such a wise and generous group of panelists over the course of all of these years, and I hope well into the future who can help anybody with almost anything. It amazes me the facility that our panelists always bring to this, and the wisdom and the knowledge, and to our incredible back-end crew, quietly toiling behind the scenes to make all this possible, not only in the actual show every day, but in so many things that happen behind the scenes to make all of Office Hours possible. Our incredible and unending gratitude to all of you. That takes us to the Collectorversal. That is our stats about a little fun look at how far you would have had to travel to get the answers you got today on the show. Today, that was 27,000 miles, 44,000 kilometers, 218 million bananas for scale. We'll see you tomorrow.
But did the bananas have a South American accent?
They're going to be AI bananas before you know it.
Yes. AI banana.
And they will lose the little hard nub that allows you to crack them open and peel them because AI will.
The result from my Sora thing was it did create an accent, but it created the wrong accent. It actually created a Canadian accent, so I started saying A during. I'm not publishing the video, but that's what happened.
Oh, you hoser, eh?
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Take off, eh? Take off, have some
Get
back
out of
bacon,
here, okay?
you know. Okay, you boss me around.
I'm so glad I don't talk like that.
It'll get better and better. The question is, will it get better and better in the right way, or will it get better and better in a way that causes more and more confusion?